A child is born into nobility, and the celebration should be joyous. But when the midwife announces that the baby cannot see, the room falls silent. The Gurian family, one of the most prominent noble houses in the kingdom of Hulia, has just welcomed a son who carries the hero's scar, a curse passed down from a legendary battle against the demon lord generations ago. The price of that ancient victory is extracted from him before he even opens his eyes: total blindness. His name is Kunon Gurian, and from the very first moments of his life, the world treats him as something fragile. His father, head of the Gurian household, struggles with the weight of what this means for his youngest son. In the world they inhabit, those born with the hero's scar lose something vital in exchange for immense magical potential. For Kunon, it is his sight. The family brings in healer after healer, and none can reverse the condition. The conclusion is absolute. There is no medical cure. There is no magical remedy that any known practitioner can provide. His mother holds him close, and his older brother watches with quiet concern. The household adjusts to a new reality. Kunon will grow up in darkness. But Kunon does not grow up broken. As the years pass, we see a child who refuses to be defined by what he lacks. He develops an extraordinary sensitivity to the world around him. He memorizes textures, learns to navigate by sound and touch, and develops a sharp wit that catches everyone off guard. His maid, Miss Genier, is the first to recognize it. She teaches him manners, language, and the fundamentals of being a young nobleman, and Kunon absorbs it all with startling speed. When she eventually departs the household, it is not because Kunon has failed, but because he no longer needs her guidance in those areas. The loss stings, though. It always stings when someone leaves. Then comes Lady Flora, his second caretaker and his first real teacher of magic. She is the one who changes the trajectory of his life. When Kunon asks about magic, she does not deflect or tell him it is too dangerous. Instead, she explains it plainly. Magic in this world is structured around crests, magical circles drawn with a sorcerer's innate power. Each sorcerer is born with an affinity for one attribute, and Kunon's attribute is water. Lady Flora teaches him his very first spell, Aori, a basic water creation spell. The moment water materializes from nothing, hovering in the air at Kunon's command, the boy is hooked. He does not just practice, he obsesses. He experiments. He pushes. He tries things that Lady Flora never taught him, altering the shape, density, and behavior of the water in ways that surprise even her. She calls these innovations little tricks. He later learns to call them alterations. She also teaches him Erubu, a washing spell, and even this mundane piece of magic becomes a canvas for Kunon's restless creativity. Where other students would use Erubu to clean laundry and move on, Kunon dissects the spell, wondering what else water can wash away, what else it can dissolve, what else it can reshape. Flora watches this process with a mixture of pride and astonishment, and something else: the quiet certainty that she is witnessing the birth of a sorcerer who will outgrow every teacher placed in front of him. This is where the episode reveals its core tension. Kunon is not simply a blind boy learning magic. He is a prodigy, someone whose relationship with water magic runs deeper than the textbooks describe. Because he cannot see, he perceives magical power directly, feeling the flow of energy in ways that sighted sorcerers overlook entirely. His blindness, the very thing the world pities him for, gives him an advantage no one anticipated. Lady Flora recognizes this and pushes him further. She tells him that creativity is a form of talent, and that his little tricks are not shortcuts but genuine innovation. But Lady Flora also leaves. And once again, Kunon is left to process the departure of someone important. His brother reassures him, his parents surround him with care, but Kunon has already set his sights on something far beyond the comfort of the Gurian manor. He wants to create eyes. Not metaphorical ones. Not a coping mechanism. He wants to use water magic to build functional eyeballs and gain the ability to see. It is an ambition so audacious that no one in the history of their world has ever accomplished it. Creating a human organ from magic is considered impossible. Kunon does not care about the consensus. The episode does not end with a grand magical display or a dramatic confrontation. It ends with something quieter and far more powerful. Kunon, still a young child sitting in his family's estate, already thinking about the impossible. He has his attribute. He has his first spell. He has a mind that refuses to work within boundaries. And he has a goal that will drive everything that follows. The Gurion family's youngest son is not waiting for someone to fix him. He is going to fix himself. And the journey to do so starts now. The path ahead is long, and the boy with no sight has already taken his first step into a world of magic that was never designed for someone like him. Kunon Gurion stands at the gates of the noble school for the first time, and the world around him is already louder, faster, and more complicated than anything the Gurion estate ever prepared him for. He is here because his family expects it, because the kingdom of Hulia demands that noble sons be educated, and because somewhere deep in his chest there is a fire that refuses to let him sit still. He has magic now. He has ambition. What he does not have is a single friend his own age. The admission process begins, and Kunon quickly learns that noble school is not designed for someone who cannot see. The other students whisper. The instructors are accommodating but cautious. Kunon, however, is not interested in being accommodated. He is interested in being tested. The exams measure basic knowledge, etiquette, and elementary magical aptitude, and Kunon approaches each one with characteristic bluntness. He does not pretend to be humble about his abilities, and he does not exaggerate them either. When asked to demonstrate his magic, he produces water cleanly and precisely, using Aori with the kind of control that makes the examiners pause. This is not the magic of a child who has been studying for a few months. This is something refined, something that has been practiced obsessively in the quiet hours of a manor far from the capital. But the real event of this episode is not the exam. It is a meeting that will reshape the entire course of Kunon's life. Princess Mirika, the 9th princess of the Hulia royal family, encounters Kunon during the admissions process. Their first exchange is deceptively simple. Kunon, unable to see her but aware of her presence, speaks to her with the same casual confidence he gives everyone. He does not grovel because she is royalty. He does not panic because he cannot see her rank in her clothing or jewelry. He treats her like a person, and for Mirika, who has spent her entire life surrounded by people who treat her like a title, that is disarming. What follows is a conversation that plants a seed neither of them fully understands yet. Kunon tells her about his goal to create eyes with magic. Mirika listens, genuinely fascinated. She does not dismiss the idea as impossible or naive. She takes it seriously, asks questions, and offers encouragement. For Kunon, who is used to people doubting him or worrying about him, having someone simply believe in his ambition is new. And for Mirika, who is navigating the complexities of being a lower-ranking princess with limited political power, meeting someone who sees the world so differently is a breath of fresh air. The engagement between the two is arranged by their families, a political match between a princess and a noble son that carries all the weight of obligation and strategy. But Kunon does not treat it as an arrangement. He treats it as a promise. He tells Mirika that when he creates his eyes, the first thing he wants to see is her. The declaration is not calculated or rehearsed. It is the honest statement of a boy who has already decided that magic will give him what nature took away, and that the person he wants to share that moment with is standing right in front of him. Mirika, unaccustomed to such directness, is left momentarily speechless. Whatever this engagement was supposed to be on paper, it has already become something more personal and more real than either family intended. The episode also introduces Aiko, the maid who will become Kunon's constant companion and caretaker. Aiko arrives at the Gurian household with energy, enthusiasm, and a sharp tongue that immediately clicks with Kunon's sense of humor. She is practical where Kunon is idealistic, grounded where he is reckless, and protective in a way that goes far beyond her job description. Their dynamic establishes itself quickly. Kunon says something outrageous, Aiko calls him out, Kunon doubles down, and somehow they both end up laughing. She learns about his daily routines, his love of bacon sandwiches, and his tendency to forget meals entirely when he is deep in magical experimentation. Meanwhile, the noble school environment reveals itself to be more layered than it first appears. The students are not just studying academics and etiquette. They are being sorted, evaluated, and positioned for futures that their families have already mapped out. Kunon, the blind son of a marquis, does not fit neatly into any of these plans. He is too capable to dismiss and too unusual to categorize. His brother keeps an eye on him from the senior classes, offering quiet support without being overbearing. The instructors note his exceptional magical aptitude but remain uncertain about how far a blind student can actually go. The episode closes with the formal announcement that Kunon has been accepted into the noble school. It is not a surprise to anyone who watched his examination, but it is a turning point nonetheless. He is no longer the sheltered youngest son of the Gurian family. He is a student, a competitor. And somewhere in the corridors of this school, a princess has started paying attention to the boy who wants to create eyes from water. The stage is set, the players are in motion, and Kunon walks forward into his new life with the same steady confidence he has carried since the day he decided that blindness was a problem to solve, not a fate to accept. There is a long road ahead, and the blind water sorcerer from the Gurian household has just taken the next step on it. Kunon Gurian does not do things halfway. When the noble school announces its first round of formal examinations, most students prepare nervously, reviewing notes and practicing their spells in controlled, predictable ways. Kunon, on the other hand, treats the exams like a playground. He has spent every free moment since enrollment experimenting with his water magic, pushing Aori and Arubu far beyond their intended uses, and the exam is simply another chance to see what happens when he stops holding back. The written portion of the exam is unremarkable for him. The Gurian household ensured that Kunon received a thorough education in noble subjects, history, etiquette, arithmetic, and the theory of governance. He navigates these sections with the mechanical efficiency of someone who has already moved on to bigger questions. The practical magic examination, however, is where things get interesting. Each student is asked to demonstrate their attribute and their level of control. Fire students produce flames. Earth students raise walls. Wind students create gusts. When it is Kunon's turn, he steps forward and casts Aori with a precision that makes the senior examiners lean forward in their seats. But it is not the spell itself that draws their attention. It is what Kunon does with it. He does not just create water. He shapes it, holds it, divides it, changes its temperature, and manipulates its density in ways that are not taught at this level. The examiners exchange glances. A 2-star crest producing this level of control is unusual. A 12-year-old doing it while blind is unprecedented. Kunon, of course, treats the whole thing like a casual demonstration, cheerfully narrating what he is doing as if he is showing off a new recipe rather than rewriting what the instructors thought was possible with elementary water magic. The deeper arc of this episode, though, is not about exams. It is about Kunon's evolving understanding of what magic actually is. Through his conversations with Princess Mirica and his own relentless experimentation, he begins to articulate something that most sorcerers never bother to think about. Magic, he argues, is not just about power or rank. It is about understanding the nature of the element you control. Water is not simply a liquid. It is a state of matter, a carrier of force, a medium for change. Kunon's approach to magic is fundamentally different from his peers because he does not think in terms of spells. He thinks in terms of properties. What can water do? What can water become? What happens if you change one variable while holding everything else constant? This philosophical approach leads him to a breakthrough that he shares with Mirika during one of their conversations. He explains compound spells, the technique of dividing and rearranging magic circles to create more complex effects. Most sorcerers can handle a handful of sections. Advanced practitioners might manage 20. Kunon, through his self-taught method of layering crests and applying alterations, can handle 31 sections reliably and sometimes pushes to 32. When Mirika asks how he learned to do this, his answer is simple: he tried things and kept the ones that worked. No formal training. No master guiding him step by step. Just raw curiosity and an unwillingness to accept that something is impossible because no one has done it before. Princess Mirika, for her part, is not passive in these exchanges. She asks sharp questions, challenges his reasoning, and offers perspectives that Kunon has not considered. Their dynamic is one of mutual respect built on genuine intellectual curiosity. She tells him about the responsibilities of her position, the expectations placed on her by the royal family, and the frustration of being underestimated. Kunon listens. He does not offer empty reassurances. He tells her with characteristic directness that she is already more capable than she gives herself credit for. It is a moment of quiet honesty that carries more weight than any grand declaration. The exam results confirm what the examiners already suspected. Kunon's scores are exceptional, particularly in practical magic. But the results also reveal something less comfortable. Several of his classmates view his success with suspicion. A blind student outperforming sighted ones disrupts the social order of the school. Whispers circulate about whether his family's connections are inflating his scores, whether his blindness is somehow an advantage, whether he belongs in the same class as everyone else. Kunon hears these whispers. He does not react to them publicly, but privately they add fuel to the fire that already burns inside him. He does not want to prove them wrong. He wants to build something so undeniable that the question becomes irrelevant. The episode ends with Kunon in his room, practicing late into the night. Water hangs in the air around him, shaped into forms that shift and change as he refines his control. Somewhere in his mind, the blueprint for something far more ambitious is taking shape. He has the foundation. He has the drive. And the exams have shown him exactly where the boundaries of conventional magic lie. Now all that remains is to break through them. The water sorcerer from the Gurian household is just getting started, and the school that tried to measure him has already been left behind. Kunon Gurian walks into the royal castle for the first time, and the weight of history presses against him from every direction. He cannot see the towering walls or the intricate decorations, but he feels the density of magical energy that saturates the stone, the air, the very ground beneath his feet. This is not a noble school or a family estate. This is the seat of power in the kingdom of Hulia, and Kunon has been summoned here by people far more powerful than anyone he has met before. The visit is arranged because Kunon's reputation has begun to travel beyond the school walls. Word of a blind water sorcerer with a hero's scar, one who handles compound spells at an absurd level for his age, has reached the royal sorcerers. These are the elite of the kingdom's magical world, individuals who have dedicated their lives to mastering their craft. The Grand Master Londamond, the head of the royal sorcerers, is the one who initiated the invitation. He wants to see the boy for himself. But Kunon does not know the full scope of what this visit will mean. He arrives expecting a tour and a few conversations. What he gets instead is the encounter that will define the next phase of his life. Princess Mirika accompanies him, offering context and guidance as they navigate the castle's corridors. Her presence is both practical and personal. She knows the layout, the protocols, and the people. More importantly, she knows Kunon well enough by now to anticipate when his curiosity might lead him into socially precarious situations. The castle is filled with courtiers, advisors, and officials who do not share Mirika's patience for a 12-year-old who speaks to everyone with the same unfiltered honesty regardless of their rank. The pivotal moment arrives when Kunon meets Xianli Finral, the royal sorcerer of Earth. Xianli is everything Kunon is not. He is experienced, composed, deliberate, and extraordinarily powerful. He carries a 3-star Earth Crest, a rank that represents the upper echelon of magical mastery. And he has a reputation for being difficult, brilliant, and entirely uninterested in taking students. Other sorcerers in the kingdom have tried and failed to earn his mentorship. Xianli does not teach. He researches, publishes grimoires that sell for fortunes, and conducts experiments that push the boundaries of Earth magic. The idea of taking on a blind water sorcerer as a student does not initially interest him. But then Xianli decides to test Kunon. He creates a wall of dense earth, reinforced with over 40 sections of compound magic, and tells Kunon to break it. The challenge is deliberately unreasonable. This is not a test designed to be passed. It is designed to see how Kunon responds to the impossible. Most sorcerers would attempt to overpower the wall with brute force, matching destruction against construction. Kunon does something different. He pauses. He touches the wall. He examines its texture, its density, its composition. And then he uses Rubu, his washing spell, the one he originally developed for doing laundry. The room goes quiet. Xianli watches as Kunon's water seeps into the earth wall. The boy has recognized something that no one told him. The wall is made of compressed dirt. Dirt becomes fragile when it absorbs water beyond its capacity. Rather than trying to smash through a fortified barrier, Kunon dissolves it from within, using the simplest possible spell applied with devastating insight. The wall crumbles. Xianli stares. Mirika holds her breath. And Kunon, completely unaware of how extraordinary what he just did was, casually explains that the texture reminded him of hard bread, which also gets soft when wet. Xianli's reaction is not immediate praise. He prods further, asking why Kunon chose Rubu instead of Aori. Kunon answers honestly. Rubu felt like the easier solution. Why use force when understanding the material gives you a better path? This is the answer that changes everything. Xianli recognizes in Kunon the quality he values above raw power, the ability to see through a problem to its simplest solution. There are spells compatible with certain situations, he tells Kunon, and a sorcerer's job is to see through it. It is the closest thing to a compliment Xianli has ever given a student. The episode reaches its emotional peak when Xianli formally declares Kunon his student. He does not do it gently. He tells Kunon that he is lucky because Xianli Finral is going to be his master, and there is a million things to learn and experiments to assist with. Mirika watches this unfold, and the weight of what it means settles over her. Kunon has just leaped from being a talented student at a noble school to being the personal apprentice of one of the most powerful sorcerers in the kingdom. The distance between them, which was already growing as Kunon's abilities outpaced his years, has widened again. Xianli wastes no time establishing the dynamic. He tells Kunon that the master comes before the fiancé, teases Mirika about whether she can keep up with Kunon's trajectory, and makes it clear that the road ahead will be grueling. Kunon takes it all in stride. He calls Xianli master before receiving permission to do so, flatters him shamelessly when told to suck up, and generally behaves with the kind of bold informality that would get anyone else dismissed on the spot. But it works. Because Xianli does not want an obedient student. He wants one who thinks. The episode closes with Mirika reflecting quietly on what has happened. She admits to herself that she needs to grow as well. Kunon is accelerating at a pace that could leave her behind, and she is not willing to let that happen. The closing moments carry a sense of momentum. Kunon has his master. Mirika has her resolve. And the kingdom of Hulia has just produced a partnership that will echo far beyond the walls of the castle. A boy who cannot see has earned the attention of one of the greatest sorcerers alive. And the real training has not even begun. Kunon now stands in Xianli Finrol's shadow, and the Earth Sorcerer wastes no time making it clear that Shadow is going to be demanding, exhausting, and relentlessly educational. The training begins immediately, and it is nothing like the structured, careful lessons Kunon received at the noble school. Xianli does not believe in hand-holding. He believes in pressure, in challenge, in forcing his student to confront problems that have no textbook solutions. And Kunon, true to form, does not just accept this approach. He thrives in it. The episode opens with Xianli demonstrating the gap between their abilities. He can handle 50 sections in a compound spell, nearly double what Kunon has achieved. The number lands like a physical blow. Kunon has been proud of his 31 sections, and he should be, because for a self-taught 12-year-old it is extraordinary. But Xianli is not interested in extraordinary for his age. He is interested in extraordinary, period. He asks Kunon how he broke past the 20-section barrier, a milestone that stops most sorcerers cold. Kunon explains his method, layered crests and alterations, the unconventional techniques he developed on his own by refusing to follow the standard approach. Xianli listens carefully. His expression does not change, but Kunon can feel the shift in attention. The master is no longer testing. He is assessing the architecture of how his student thinks. Xianli then issues a challenge that seems designed to embarrass. He creates a wall using his 3-star Earth crest and tells Kunon to destroy it. This is the same type of test from the castle, but elevated. The wall is denser, more sophisticated, reinforced with compound magic that Kunon has never encountered at this level. And Xianli adds a twist. He wants to see Kunon's famous water bed first. The one that everyone at school has been talking about. Kunon obliges. Aori summons a bed of water so perfectly calibrated in temperature, density, and softness that Xianli lies down to test it and promptly falls asleep for 2 hours. When he wakes, he is simultaneously impressed and annoyed. The water bed is genuine craftsmanship, magic applied with such fine control that the result feels less like sorcery and more like engineering. Kunon has spent the sleeping hours preparing. While Xianli rested, Kunon studied the wall. He touched it. He analyzed its composition through feel, through the way it responded to moisture, through the density patterns his magical power could detect. And when Xianli wakes and asks if he has given up, Kunon calmly says he is ready. He uses Erubu again, the washing spell. Water seeps into the earth wall, saturating it past its breaking point. The wall collapses. It is the same fundamental approach he used at the castle, but this time he is doing it against a far more powerful construction, and he is doing it with the confidence of someone who has already proven the principle works. Xianli is quiet for a moment. Then he speaks. Rather than using force, Kunon saw the wall as dirt and chose to wash it away. There are spells compatible with certain situations, and a sorcerer's job is to see through it. Kunon recognizes the praise buried inside the observation and immediately asks if this means he is officially a student. Xianli tells him that is not his decision to make, then turns and formally declares the acceptance. Kunon is now a student of Xianli Finrol. The Earth Sorcerer tells the boy he is the luckiest child in the world, because Xianli Finrol is going to be his master. Kunon's response captures everything about who he is. He agrees. He says it is true. He has found his master and Mirika is by his side. If he wished for anything more, he says, he would deserve divine punishment. It is a moment of genuine gratitude from a character who usually wraps his emotions in humor. Mirika hears this and is visibly moved. Xianli predictably ruins the moment by telling Kunon that the master comes before the fiancé, and then proceeds to tease Mirika about whether she is prepared for Kunon to surpass her. It is playful, but there is an edge to it. Xianli is making a point. Kunon is about to enter a phase of growth that will change everything, and everyone around him needs to be ready for what that means. The second half of the episode shifts to the aftermath of this acceptance. Xianli begins the real work. He teaches Kunon compound spells at the 50 section level, three-dimensional magic circles, anchored cylindrical formations, imaginary codes, and rheologic sand patterns. The list of techniques is staggering. Kunon absorbs them with a hunger that borders on obsession. He does not sleep enough. He forgets meals. Aiko has to physically intervene to keep him functional. And through it all, Xianli watches, pushes, and occasionally drops a comment that reveals how deeply he believes in what his student can become. Mirika, meanwhile, processes what Xianli told her. She realizes that Kunon's trajectory is accelerating beyond her ability to match. She is a princess, not a sorcerer. Her power is political, not magical. And the gap between where Kunon is heading and where she currently stands is widening. The episode lets this tension sit without resolving it. Mirika does not make a dramatic declaration. She simply acknowledges quietly and to herself that she needs to find her own path to growth. The seed is planted. What grows from it will become clear in the episodes ahead. The episode closes on Kunon and Xianli working late into the night, master and student, earth and water, arguing about magical theory with the kind of passionate disagreement that only comes from mutual respect. Kunon has found his mentor. Xianli has found his legacy. And the kingdom of Hulia has just produced a pairing that neither the school nor the court was prepared for. The blind sorcerer is no longer working alone, and the real magic is about to begin. The training under Xianli Finral does not slow down. It accelerates. Day after day, Kunon absorbs the techniques his master throws at him. Compound spells at 55 sections, three-dimensional magic circles, anchored cylindrical formations, imaginary codes, rheologic sand patterns, and the fundamental principles behind magic tools. Every concept builds on the last. Every lesson pushes him closer to a ceiling that Xianli himself has only recently explored. And then Xianli tells Kunon something that stops the momentum in its tracks. He should attend the magic school. Kunon does not want to go. His response is immediate and genuine. Why would he leave when he has the best possible teacher standing right in front of him? He tells Xianli plainly that he does not need a school because he has a master. He wants to stay to keep learning at Xianli's side, to be worked to the bone until he has wrung every drop of knowledge from the Earth Sorcerer's expertise. It is a declaration of loyalty that catches Xianli off guard, because the student who usually maintains a light-hearted exterior is now speaking with naked sincerity. But Xianli is an Earth Sorcerer, and Earth Sorcerers cannot teach water magic. He has given Kunon everything within his domain: the structural principles, the compound techniques, the theoretical frameworks. What Kunon needs now is a water sorcerer at the same level, someone who can do for water magic what Xianli did for magical foundations. The magic school at Durashik, far from the kingdom of Hulia, is where those sorcerers can be found. 3-star water sorcerers, possibly even 4-star. People who have spent their lives exploring the depths of the attribute that Kunon was born to command. Mirika supports the decision. She tells Kunon to go to become an amazing sorcerer and promises that she will grow in his absence so that she is worthy of him when he returns. It is a moment that carries enormous weight. Mirika is not simply encouraging Kunon. She is setting her own trajectory. She understands that the path Kunon is on will elevate him to heights that could leave her behind, and she is making a deliberate choice to rise alongside him rather than wait and hope. The emotional center of this episode is the farewell between Kunon and Xianli. The master does not soften. He tells Kunon bluntly that from here on, the quest to create eyeballs with magic is up to Kunon alone. Even Xianli has never heard of how to make functional eyes with sorcery. The knowledge simply does not exist. Kunon will have to invent it. But Zionli adds something that cuts through the toughness. He has no doubt Kunon will succeed because Kunon is his beloved student, the one he is proud of. It is the closest Zionli has ever come to open affection, and it lands with quiet devastation. Left alone with his thoughts and his magic, Kunon throws himself into the problem. He begins experimenting with mirrors. If the eye is fundamentally a device for reflecting and transmitting visual information, then perhaps the solution lies in creating a magic mirror that can process what it reflects and send that information to his mind. He tries Aori to create water mirrors. Nothing transmits. He tries Erubu. Same result. He cycles through variation after variation, creating lenses, clusters, and formations inspired by everything from insect eyes to the polished surfaces of gems. None of it works. The information reflects but does not connect. The gap between seeing light and understanding sight remains uncrossed. Then Kunon does what he always does when he is stuck. He steps back from complexity and looks for simplicity. He remembers Zionli's teaching about rheologic sand patterns, the technique of creating surface patterns that can read movement and transmit data. He realizes he has been overcomplicating the problem. The eye does not need a complex configuration or a relaying mechanism. It needs a water mirror with a rheologic sand pattern on its surface, one that reads the moving visual field and sends the information directly to his mind. No complex relay. No multi-stage processing. Just a mirror that sees and a pattern that speaks. He casts Aori. He applies the pattern. And then, in the quiet of the Gurian estate late at night with his family sleeping around him, Kunon Gurian sees for the first time in his life. The world floods in. Shapes, shadows, distances, textures that he has only ever known through touch suddenly have a visual dimension. He can see the room around him. He can see the ceiling above him. He can see. 3 words leave his mouth, and they are the most powerful words the series has produced so far: I can see. He repeats it. I can see. I can see. I did it. I made eyeballs with magic. The emotion is raw. 12 years of darkness, 12 years of everyone telling him it could not be done, 12 years of building toward this single moment, and it is here. The boy who was born blind has created sight from water and magic. It is not medical. It is not conventional. It is entirely, uniquely, impossibly his. The episode does not linger in celebration. It cuts forward. Something surprises Kunon as he looks at the people around him. Something he did not expect. The details of what he sees remain unexplained for now, a thread left dangling deliberately. But the fact remains, Kunon Gurian can see, and nothing in his life or anyone else's will ever be the same. The impossible has been achieved. And the boy who refused to accept his fate has rewritten what magic can do.